Hello everyone, my name is Chris from the Commander Crew and welcome to another episode of From Pennies to Power. Here on From Pennies to Power, we build decks on their value and not their cost. As Commander becomes a ever more popular format, the cost to play is consistently increasing. My goal is to show you that you can build a whole Commander deck on a budget and it's easy to compete and hold its own. With these decks, the goal is to keep the budget as close to $100 and include as many low cost cards as possible. Let's brew this build and see how some pennies can make some serious power. On this week's episode, we have Arcades the Strategist. He is a 3/5 Elder Dragon for 1 green, white, blue with flying and vigilance. He reads, whenever a creature with Defender enters the battlefield, draw a card. But they don't stop there. Each creature you control with Defender assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, and it can attack as though it didn't have Defender. The strategy of this deck? The best offense is a strong defense. Throughout the history of Magic, there have been plenty of walls that just take the beating, and now they're able to go on in the attack. Walls have been known to have a very high toughness, but have little to no power. With Arcades, we can now attack with the walls and push through tons of damage. The primary win condition of this deck revolves around Arcades' ability. Once he or a similar ability are on the battlefield, we will keep playing creatures with Defender to gain their value, and bash through our opponent's defenses and lead to victory. In this deck tech, I'm going to show you how to win, how to defend yourself, and how to get to victory. Now let's get brewing. To start off, let's start with some ramp. First, we start off with 2 mana rocks, Celestia Signet for green-white and Simic Signet for green-blue. Having green within the deck helps us ramp in a far more efficient way than simply playing mana rocks. For the ramp spells, we have Farseek and Rampant Growth, which each give us 1 additional mana, Migration Path and Skyshard Claim to put 2 lands in the battlefield, and Cultivate, which will place 1 under the field and 1 into our hand. Once we have enough mana, we're going to want to start drawing ourselves into more creatures. Guardian Project will draw a card for each creature that enters the battlefield. If we have enough mana, Lifecrafter's Bestiary will draw a card for 1 green mana with each creature, and Harmonize will draw 3 cards directly. Since Arcades, the Strategist, allows a card for each with the Defender entering the battlefield, we have several ways to return those creatures to our hands or flicker them. Eerie Interlude will flicker each creature onto the battlefield, granting a draw for each creature, potentially drawing a vast amount of cards. There is also Crystal Shard and Erratic Portal, which will bring back a creature to our hand to play later on for more value. Additionally, these can also be placed into effect to help as protection if the time is needed. For additional protection, there is Slaughter the Strong, as if all your creatures will almost always equal total power 4 or less. If your opponents begin to have too many creatures, there's Meekstone to help prevent creatures with power 3 or more from untapping. For targeted removal, we have Generous Gift that can remove any single target, and Nature's Claim that can destroy any artifact or enchantment at instant speed for a single mana. If all else fails, we have Kulfiner's Urn, which can potentially bring back all of your creatures to the battlefield if they would die in a single turn. And if we need to return a single card, we have Reclaim that can return any card from the graveyard to the top of our library. Great Surprise attacks can get in a lot of damage as well with these instant spells. These cards include Tower Defense, Solidarity, and Bar the Door. With these extra spells, they can come out of nowhere and push in that extra amount of damage to win the game. Now sometimes it pays very well to be a wall. There are several cards in this deck that make it worth playing as many walls as possible. Assault Formation, High Alert, and Watley the Sunheart will let you assign combat damage as the toughness rather than the power, very similar to the Commander's ability. These give you 3 more options additional to Arcades. Assault Formation will remove Defender from all creatures, but also leads the toughness boost to buff up your whole team. High Alert will let you tap a creature, and Watley the Sunheart will let you gain life equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control. Similar life gain would include Angelic Chorus, which will let you gain life equal to the toughness for each creature entering the battlefield. And lastly, Sight of the Scale Lords will grant your entire team a full stat buff and vigilance for each creature with toughness 4 or more. We also want to build the board up a little bit. Brave the Sands and Primal Rage will give our team an additional boost. It will give us Vigilance or Trample, which can help push through the extra damage or help prevent additional defense. One of the best cards in the entire deck is Wild Pair. It's free stuff, and who doesn't love free stuff? This spell will let you search for a creature with equal power and toughness to the one that you've cast and let it play right from the library. It's insane. There's so much value in this. It's a 2-for-1. Who doesn't want to play this card? Now before we get into the walls though, there are some other creatures that give the deck even more value. Temur Sabertooth lets you return a creature to your hand and replay it over and over again. Sadar Kondo of Jamura and Tetsuko Umezawa, Fugitive, can make almost all your creatures completely unblockable. Hornet's Nest can lead to even more deadly creatures on the board, and then Drift of Phantasms will help you search out one specific card you need from your deck to help build even more value to the game. There are also creatures that can generate even more mana for you. Axebane Guardian will add X mana of any color for the number of creatures with Defender. Overgrown Battlement will add a green mana for each creature with Defender. Sunscape Familiar can help cast multiple spells as it reduces the cost of green and blue spells. Wall of Roots can give a green mana every turn just by putting a counter on it, and Vine Trellis will tap for mana every single turn. And you also have Sylvan Caryatid, which can tap for any color mana at all. Now, since Arcadia's ability lets us draw cards when we enter the battlefield, we also have some other creatures that will draw a card just by themselves. These creatures include Wall of Omens, Carven Caryatid, and Wall of Blossoms. Now before we dive into all the vanilla creatures, those basic walls to finish up the deck, there are a bunch of walls that offer extra abilities to help hold down the fort and create that strong wall of defense. For life gain, there is Jadi Offshoot, which will gain a life for each land entering the battlefield. Wall of Hope and Wall of Essence will gain life when they're blocking, while Perimeter Captain will give you 2 life for each creature with Defender that is blocking. Some walls can even fly or even reach the skies. Wall of Shards, Fog Bank, and Wall of Denial all have flying, and Wall of Tanglecord can even gain reach. To help the team, there's also Resolute Watchdog, which can give someone indestructible if needed. Crashing Drawbridge can give the whole team haste. Jeskai Barricade can bounce someone back to your hand, and Stalwart Shield Bearers can buff the entire team. And don't forget about Wall of Glare. You can have it force the entire team to block that one single creature, letting everything get straight through. Other walls with additional triggers are Wall of Ruins, which can scry when it enters the battlefield, and Wall of Junk, which has a huge toughness, but has to bounce back to your hand, causing it to not die. And now to finish off those vanilla walls. Still solid walls. We have Wall of Ice, Wall of Mist, Fortified Rampart, Wall of Vines, Steel Wall, Shield Sphere, and Aegis Turtle. Now being a budget deck, lands can be a little bit of an issue, but there are so many budget options it makes it way easier to actually build the deck. We have the 3 Guild Gates with Azorius, Selesnya, and Simic. We have Blossoming Sands and Thorwood, which also gain us a life when they enter. We have the phenomenal new cycle through the Thriving with Grove, Heath, and Isle, which can give you a little mana manipulation depending on the time of the game. Seaside Citadel and Command Tower, which can help us tap for any color. Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, Croson Verge, and Bant Panorama, which can help us search for any additional land we need later in the game just by tapping and sacrificing it. To finish off the land base, we have 10 Forest, 1 Island, and 8 Plains. And that's it! That's how we build a wall. That's how we build a giant wall to block all of our opponents from bringing down our life total, and then in the end, swinging right back at them with an even stronger team they could ever imagine and winning. Arcadia's Strategist is an epic deck, and I absolutely love it. It is by far one of the funnest decks I have ever played, and so much value with a great outcome. He is definitely one of the most played ban commanders for a reason, and it absolutely shows. So how would you build Arcadia's? Would you put more emphasis on the flickering effect, letting all creatures keep coming back in to gain more value? Or just straight put more emphasis on the toughness and just go for straight combat damage? I'd love to hear how you built the deck. Please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please remember to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification for future videos, as it helps us out, the Commander crew, a lot. And remember, who's your commander? Peace.